All right. Well, I did want to start off with a question. I hear this. I hear this said mostly by folks on the right. Once again, this is nothing against conservatives. I want to address this right away. Um, I hear a lot of the time Democrats started the KKK.
Mhm.
Democrats are the party of, real not repression, oppression. Um,
Well, it's a guilt by association move, I think. Anytime you can paint a group with something like that, it's I think and it's I think many people do those kinds of things for various reasons, but and ultimately I don't know exactly what's going on there when somebody would say that, but
so I
I'm
guess
sorry
the
I cut you
question
off.
is,
Yeah.
did the Democrats start the KKK? Is kind of what the
Well, yeah, I think as with most things, yes, that's true. Southern Democrats, um, after the war, Southerners felt like they were being abused by Northern radical, what they call radical Republicans in Congress
after the Civil War.
after the Civil War. And there were all kinds of laws passed by the Congress that was controlled by Republicans. Southerners were not in Congress because they had been barred from being elected into Congress. The 14th Amendment, the 13th and 14th Amendment were passed. And so Southerners felt a deep resentment towards Republicans and Northerners in general for meddling in trying to reconstruct the South.
Because they had no representation in Congress.
Correct. And as you might as you might expect, a lot of Northerners weren't really excited about having Southerners in Congress. They looked at it as you seceded. We're going to define you as traitors. And so some Republicans in the North were very punitive towards the South. And
Punitive,
meaning harsh
okay.
treatment. This is, I mean, Lincoln. Um, Lincoln at the end of his life and towards the end of the war, we don't know how Lincoln would have treated the South. We have some glimmers, some of the speeches that he made, with charity towards all. And would he have been nice and soft to the South? He had kind of a very quick plan of reconstruction, but the radicals in Congress did not have a soft reconstruction. They wanted a harsh reconstruction. So the background to the creation of illegal terrorist organizations like the Klan was Southern resentment of Republicans coming south and attempting to reconstruct the South. And the Southerners didn't want to be reconstructed. They felt, many Southerners felt like the pre-Civil War South, the antebellum South, was just fine. And they were going to do everything they could to maintain that system. So yeah, there were all kinds of organizations like the Klan. Klan, most famous of those reactionary, what I would consider reactionary vigilante groups, and many.
And what did they do exactly?
To
start with, originally,
it's interesting. You look at the Klans.
You have 6 guys in a garage. They get together.
No,
and say, hey, let's put on hoods and.
No, they were Confederate generals. Got together in I think a hotel in Nashville, and it kind of came up with the idea. And you look at their bylaws, and they define themselves as a paternal organization. I think the quote is to take care of the widows and orphans, and to protect the innocent.
The widows, due to the Civil War,
yes.
for their husbands who died.
And to protect them from the lawless Northern radical Republicans seeking to reconstruct the South. So they define themselves as a paternalistic organization. And you can find instances where they travel around, in communities and hand out food and provide for widows and orphans. Now, the other side of this is, to get into the club, you had to basically commit to a white supremacist agenda and say that you never were in the Union Army, never liked the Union Army, didn't like anything associated with the North. So they define themselves as a benevolent paternalistic, fatherly care kind of organization, but it also is a terrorist organization that roams around at night and intimidates blacks or kills.
It's kind of like Pablo Escobar. He built barrios in Medellin,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I
but he
suppose.
was also blowing up planes to try to kill
Sure.
politicians. Okay.
So yes, the short answer is yeah. A lot of Southerners were Democrats, and so the Democrats did form the Klan. Now, I think as a historian, I would suggest that things never are frozen in time. I mean, to say that since so many Southern Democrats in the mid 1860s were involved in forming the Klan, that means the modern Democratic Party is in favor of the Klan. I mean, there's just too much history between 1860s and now to make that a clean. That's not a clean family tree to go, from the 1860s to now.
Hmm.
So I mean, it just in fact, the whole party alignment has changed, starting actually in the 1930s. I think you start to see African Americans move away from being Republicans, the party of Lincoln, to the Democratic Party, and certainly solidifies by the 1960s with Lyndon Johnson's Great Society programs. So it's yes is the answer, but it also is kind of
It's more murky than that.
Yeah.
These quote Democrats were white supremacists
Yeah.
who they did some good for their community, but
Yeah.
they only cared about their community and were also
in the sense
quite
that they
violent
wanted to maintain a pre-Civil War social system. Yeah.
Okay.
With blacks being second class status or
second class at best.
At best, right?
At very best.
Right.